You know, in test cricket, momentum can flip on a dime. And day 2 of the third Ashes test, well, it proved that in the most spectacular way possible. We literally watched a team go from being in complete control to absolute chaos, all in the space of a single session. So let's dive in and break down this incredible story of a sudden, dramatic collapse.
This right here, this was the final, brutal summary from the commentary box as the day drew to a close. So how did we get here? How did one side end up with a pretty picture and the other with, well, a total mess? To figure that out, we've got to break down the day's play, act by act.
All right, so the day kicked off with Australia's lower order still at the crease. Their job? It was pretty simple, really. Just add as many frustrating bonus runs as they possibly could. They wanted to push that first innings total into a position that was truly commanding.
And leading that charge was Mitchell Starc. He wasn't just hanging around defending. No, he was on the attack, smashing his way to a really vital half-century. These 54 runs were exactly the kind of runs that can swing a close match, and they added all this extra pressure on England before he'd even picked up a ball to bowl.
But on the other side, England's Jofra Archer was just relentless. He was the clear standout of the English attack, and he finally broke through that resistance, bowling Starc to end the innings. And that wicket? It was huge. It gave Archer a 5-4, a fantastic personal achievement that at long last gave England their chance to bat.
So with Australia all out, it was England's turn to respond. And you know what? For a little while, everything seemed to be going perfectly to plan. The mood was optimistic, and it really looked like a big, powerful reply was on the cards.
This quote from the commentary just nails the start of England's innings. Ben Duckett, in particular, looked so confident, just hammering the ball through the covers. He and his opening partner Zach Crawley were building a foundation, and everything seemed to be going swimmingly.
And at this stage, there were absolutely zero signs of the chaos that was about to unfold. England looked composed, they were scoring freely, and the Australian bowlers just didn't seem to have any answers. It was a picture of calm right before the storm.
And then it happened. In a truly stunning turn of events, it all just fell apart. What looked like a solid foundation a minute ago, it just crumbled into dust.
The whole thing started with Pat Cummins getting rid of Crawley. Then Nathan Lyon struck, removing Ollie Pope. And just a few hours later, Lyon bowled Duckett. In a flash, 3 wickets were down, and the entire feel of the game had completely changed.
The commentary team, they did not hold back. They described Ollie Pope's dismissal as pure madness. He just charged down the pitch to Nathan Lyon, got completely beaten, and was easily stumped. It was a moment that really signaled that shift from confidence to outright panic.
And that dismissal, it seemed to just ignite Nathan Lyon. He was described as being on fire, and his delivery to bowl Ben Duckett was a spinner's dream. It drifted in, gripped the surface, and clipped the very top of the stumps. It was just a brilliant piece of bowling. Just when England needed their absolute best batsman to stand firm, Joe Root was also sent walking by Pat Cummins. With their main danger man gone, England were truly wilting under that fierce Australian sun. This wasn't a wobble anymore, it was a full-blown crisis.
So, with the top order completely gone, all the pressure fell on the middle order to stop the bleeding. But Australia, they smelled blood in the water. They sensed their chance and executed an aggressive plan to perfection.
So, what was this Australian strategy? Well, it was simple, but absolutely brutal. They packed the leg side field with catchers, then just unleashed a relentless barrage of short-pitch bowling and basically just waited for the batters to make a mistake under pressure. It was an incredibly effective and intimidating tactic. And right in the middle of this batting collapse, technology decided to add its own layer of controversy. We had 2 very similar appeals go to the Decision Review System, or DRS, where players can challenge the umpire's call. But the system produced 2 very different outcomes, and it raised some serious questions about its consistency. Just take a look at the cases of Harry Brook and Jamie Smith. Both were given out caught behind by the on-field umpire, okay? But when they were reviewed, Brook's decision was overturned while Smith's was upheld. The replays looked almost identical, and it led the commentators to feel like it was one rule for one and one for another, a huge moment of controversy. So despite a brief little fight back, the dominoes just kept on falling. Smith went, then Will Jacks, then Ollie Robinson. By the time that 8th wicket fell, England weren't just struggling anymore, they were in complete and utter disarray.
As the sun finally set on day 2, the damage was well and truly done. That glimmer of hope from the afternoon, it had been completely extinguished, replaced by a desperate, desperate fight for survival.
And that brings us right back to where we started. This single quote just perfectly sums up the two completely opposite feelings at the close of play. For Australia, it was a masterpiece of ruthless clinical cricket, and for England, well, it was a mess.
And you can see the damage right there in the final score at stumps, 213 for 8. England are still trailing Australia's first innings total, and they only have 2 wickets left in hand. It's a stark numerical reminder of just how disastrous their batting performance really was.
Which leaves us with one final lingering question. Look, cricket is a notoriously unpredictable game, and comebacks are always possible. But after a collapse this sudden and this severe, is there really any way back for England in a match they absolutely have to win?